This is something that needs to be addressed. And some people might hate me for it. They might. But at the same time, there's going to be some people that will most likely agree with me. Hello everyone. Once again, this is Dare to Speak. Now, this is something that I think very strongly a lot of people would actually feel the same way. But they choose not to say anything. And not because they're afraid that they might be wrong. Not because of that. Because they're afraid of getting into trouble, to be labeled as a racist, to be labeled as a hater, an ignorant person, and like the most evil, twisted-minded person that would ever walk the earth, kind of thing. Now, as a Chicano, as a Hispanic who grew up in a bad neighborhood, growing up where there was street gangs, first the Spanish Cobras and then the Latin Kings, and then there was black gangs, the Brothers of Struggle, BOS, even though they were they were on the north side, and then some of them came to the south side and started a chapter. There's the Vice Lords, another black gang, and I remembered all these gangs when I was in 7th grade, all the way through 10th grade. I remember them very heavily. I mean, there was, as far as rumors and seeing them a lot, and a lot of the stupid fights that I witnessed, and who was involved and stuff like that. But aside from all of that, I also had experiences. I also had a few people which, unfortunately, I could call them my friends, who had serious issues. There was this one guy, and I'm going to name this person's name because he doesn't live in Milwaukee anymore. His name is Robert Morales. He used to be a good friend of mine when we were both 15 years old. We went to different high schools, and I'm sorry, not different high schools, different middle schools. I'm sorry, I apologize. We went to different middle schools, but we went to the same high school. He dropped out at South Division High School during his sophomore year. So, again, I apologize. It was we went to different middle schools. When I first met him, I forgot what middle school he went to, but I went to Kosciuszko. And then both of us finally went to our freshman year at South Division High School. He was always into mischief, getting into trouble, hanging around with fucking losers. Even though he was a very funny guy, he was somewhat charismatic, and he really likes to fuck. I mean, he would go after girls like crazy, and then the guy was just a fucking idiot. And then he got into drugs. He was into stealing cars. and going on joyrides. He would skip class. And, like, what the fuck is your problem? It got to the point where he got arrested by some undercover police officers one time during the winter. He was stealing a car with some friends, and eventually he got the living shit beat out of him after crashing the car because I think he stole like 6 or 7 or something like that. I don't know. You got what you deserve. That's pretty much it. The thing that pissed me off the most, that after going, excuse me, but after going to juvie, being being there for a while, and after going through county jail, being there for a while, and stuff like that. The thing that bothered me the most was the betrayal. He got into drugs. He got into messing around with girls. He got a few of them pregnant. I forgot how many. He never really took care of them. And one time after graduating from high school, in a couple of years later, like 92, 93, 94, he got married when he was 19. He told me about it, and he had a very stupid and lame reason for doing it. This was during the time of Desert Storm in 1991, and he somehow got the idea that we're going to be drafting people. And then he ended up getting married with his girlfriend that he's been dating for only like 4 or 5 months. And there was this Puerto Rican girl that he's also Puerto Rican. He got married with this Puerto Rican girl that I knew from the neighborhood that I also grew up with. And she's not really a stable type person. She's nice. She's an okay girl, but she also had a few issues, especially with anger. She had she had bad relationships here and there, and she hooked up with him. So he thought that he was going to get drafted because there was some rumor going around saying that a lot of people are going to go to Iraq to go and fight because, in 1990 everybody was hearing about it. It was the talk of the whole town. And he says they can't draft you if you're gonna get married. So his strategy was to get married so he won't get drafted. But there was no draft. George Bush Sr. said he made an announcement, to the nation, the war is getting bad, but it's not. There's no need for a draft. There's no need for it. And of course, that was during the time when everybody was getting kind of nervous because I was almost finished with high school. We were like about 3 months away from graduation, and our reading teacher, or I forgot what class he was from. I forgot, but he told us in a group meeting, hey, if we do get drafted, and this was before the announcement from George Bush Sr. And this is, if we do get drafted, just let you know, just try to do your best. Just hope it doesn't happen. Just hope it gets better over there. Because it was called Desert Shield, and then it got changed to Desert Storm. And there was a couple of people that I knew from high school that actually ended up going over to Iraq to fight, but they volunteered for it. There's a couple of guys that went into the Marines. One guy I knew who went to the Army, and they fought over there. Anyways, Robert Morales, he got married, and then he got into a lot of arguments with her. He only wanted he would work certain like bummy jobs for a while. He would get frustrated. He wouldn't like it, so he would quit, and then he would just like sell drugs on the side. And then he went for another job. He would work there for a long while, and he would quit. He was started to like get drunk and start acting stupid, and it got to the point where they felt that they probably made a mistake. Well, duh, obviously, but she was pregnant, so they decided to pretty much go with the flow, just have it and stay married. Things didn't necessarily get better. She ended up going on welfare. They cooked up some kind of story. I don't know what the fuck they did. And they were trying to cheat the system, basically. They cheated the system, and then they when things were going good, their first child was really problematic. He was really hyper. He took after his dad. Again, genetics. He was quick-tempered. He had the same type of genetic trait or attitude of his father. And and one time, a couple of times, I got talked into babysitting, which I shouldn't have done. But this was afterwards, because she got pregnant again and had a daughter, and she was also a wild one too. And I took care of them one time while they had to go away for something for a couple of hours, and they were okay kids, but they were just way too wild. And then after a year or less than a year later, when I was walking with my friend Robert Morales at that time, he started saying, "Well, Becky's pregnant again." I'm like, what? Dude, why don't you just like have her get fixed, or you get fixed? If you, I mean, obviously you like fucking, you like fooling around, and of course this guy cheats on her too. He starts fucking around with other women. And when I says, "Dude, why don't you do something?" He kind of laughs it off, like, but he was proud of what he did. But at the same time, I'm like, what the fuck? Why are you so happy about it? Well, this is, the more kids you have, the bigger the check. Is that what you fucking care about? The way he explained it was, I don't like working these bum jobs. I don't like this and that. Oh, motherfucker, you're the one who dropped out of high school because you were too busy robbing, breaking into cars, stealing them with your fucking punk ass low life friends. I was the only straight friend that you had, me and this other guy named Juan, and we were both disappointed in him. And here you are acting all fucking stupid, and then now you're trying to cheat the fucking welfare system, all because you want to get a bigger check. Motherfucker ended up having 5 kids, and he wasn't necessarily a good father. He was verbally abusive, physically abusive. He would get physically and verbally abusive to his wife. He would fuck around with other women. There was plenty of times where I wanted to tell her, but I couldn't tell her. But then she ended up finding out on her own. And of course, he would deal drugs on the side. Now, it got to the point after so many years, especially when they grew up, and then one time I took care of them when they only had 3 kids. When their third kid was about maybe a year old, about a year old, they were jumping. The oldest one that was really a problematic child would jump up and just grab my face. I wore glasses at that time. He would just grab it anytime he wanted to, and try to break it. And then I would just try to get it back. And I would have to chase him and stuff like that. It got to the point where I said, "Fuck it." I just took a ruler, I bent that fucker over, and I just slapped him right in the ass with a fucking ruler. I spanked him. He got angry. He said, "You're not supposed to hit me. You're not my daddy." Well, behave yourself and I wouldn't have to hit you. He would just argue with me after that. But I could tell he wanted to cry, but he didn't want to because it wasn't his dad or his mom that hit him. And then when they had 5 kids, of course I never babysat for them after that. I don't think I should have to begin with. The thing is, they got so much in trouble with the police. They got involved with some fucking lowlives. It got to the point where their kids got taken away from them. Social services took their kids away. He got put into the House of Corrections. He got arrested. He went to jail. He went to the House of Corrections for a couple of years or whatever. I forgot what happened to her. And their kids, like I said, their kids got taken away. Some of them went to live with other relatives. But what he explained to me was how badly he wanted to cheat the system. He's saying that they're unfair. They're saying all this stuff, all this type of like a stupid shit that just didn't make sense. He was just making fucking excuses. He says, why can't you just fucking say you're just a fucking lazy motherfucker, a ghetto trash motherfucker, who's angry at life, and you're doing all of this stupid shit just to get revenge. Revenge for what, you would wonder? All of you? Revenge for being born. Plain and simple. There's other people that I knew of growing up that did the same shit in the ghetto. They had shitty parents. Of course, their situation was a little bit different. They had shitty parents that would just not take responsibility. They were so angry at life. They feel like losers. They drop out of high school, and then they will have a bunch of kids as a way of trying to cheat the system. And since there was so much racism against them, which is constructive racism, they were looked down on because of their ghetto behavior and their ghetto lifestyle. So what I honestly believe with Hispanics and with blacks that are very ghetto, not all of them. There's some that are decent, but there's many that are just fucking straight up lowlifes. It's like saying they want to shit all over us. They're angry at life, so they do something so stupid and irrational. I'm gonna have a bunch of kids so I could take advantage of the fucking welfare system. I could be fucking lazy and do whatever I want, get drunk, do drugs, rob cars, break into cars and rob them, rob people in some cases or whatever like that. And I'm gonna have these kids and say, even if they become troublemakers, who gives a fuck? I'm gonna shit all over everybody. That's their fucking attitude. And there was a good fair amount of people that I saw that were like that. And they make decent families look bad. And there was decent families that they work hard. They bust their ass to make ends meet, to make sure that their kids get a good, proper education, to make sure they stay out of trouble, that they go to community centers and stay away from drugs, stay away from gangs, stay away from thuggish, ghetto trash motherfuckers. And some of them do succeed. They make something or other. Some of them actually end up going to college. Some went to MHEC for a while, and then they went up to UWM. Some of them ended up going to getting a very good job. They made something on themselves, and I'm very proud of them. And these are the ones I feel sorry for, because they have to endure a lot of the bad element that they see around them, and they have kids growing up, and they see all this shit, and they have to put major efforts into making sure that they don't get brainwashed or influenced by all the bad element that's around them. That's the reason why there's a lot of blacks and Hispanics. And again, I'm not trying to sound racist. I mean, I'm not trying to say this to sound like a racist asshole, but blacks are a lot worse. And I noticed that a lot in the hood. Even though it was mostly Hispanics that lived there. But when I moved out, because I had to, more black people were moving in. A lot of them were like, or families. They're like, I mean, again, not to sound racist, but that term porch monkeys. They would just hang around and just. There was these like this one lady who had all these kids. She was the mother, and she was like saying "motherfucker this" and "motherfucker this," and that she was talking on the phone, cussing, while their kids are just out playing ball in front of the sidewalk, and cars would beep because they would run into the street. They don't take care of their fucking kids. And some of them end up breaking into other people's houses and stealing stuff. Oh wow, that's really good parenting. That's the thing that fucking pisses me off. And a lot of them are on welfare. It doesn't teach, and it doesn't give anybody any fucking personal responsibility. It just makes them more lazy. They have these kids, they take care, they try to cheat the system, and it's like a way of getting back at people that has it better, into saying, I'm gonna make, my life is miserable, so I'm gonna make everybody's lives miserable by having all these kids. I'm gonna shit all over everybody, and I'm gonna make sure that, if I'm not gonna be happy, I'm gonna make sure that other people are miserable. Knowing that, it's like, wait, it's like saying, here, deal with all this. Hopefully you understand what I'm going with this kind of thing. There's some Hispanics that do that too. There's no Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, mostly Puerto Ricans were doing that. There was a neighbor who had kids, but he was lazy. He didn't want to work. His wife was on welfare. She had 3 kids with him, and she reported saying that her husband left her, and he lives out of state, which she was just big time lying. She did that so they can take care of her, money wise, and he was living with her, and he dealt drugs on the side. And one time he got extremely angry. Some incident happened. And then as a result of it, he started breaking into people's houses and robbing things out of anger. He used to rob people at gunpoint years ago. This was before this was before he became my neighbor, when he used to live next to me and my family. He would tell me about it. He says he doesn't do that anymore. He told me that. I'm like, okay, whatever. Now, I don't want to make this too long of a video. Sorry if this is getting too long. It's already on 23 minutes and counting. But the thing about it is, this is the thing that fucking irritates me the most. A lot of these kids that they have just to cheat the system, that is the most self-centered, self-absorbed, fucking selfish thing that someone can do. And these kids are born with no purpose. They have no fucking purpose. And they grow up in a negative environment with ignorant fucking or stupid fucking self-centered motherfuckers. Parents, shitty ass parents who doesn't know how to guide them the right way, how to teach them the right way. And they end up getting into trouble. Some of them end up joining gangs. Some of them end up just being thugs on the street and doing all these bad things that I mentioned before in this video. A lot of them are born with no purpose. I said it. I don't regret saying this. And as a Hispanic, as a Chicano, this is how it really is. And this pisses me off. And then, of course, the final straw for me was when my friend Robert Morales fucking stole shit from me. He would go as far twice already. He says, "Here, I'll buy a lot of your kung fu weapons off of you." So I had butterfly swords, I had nunchucks, I had all this kind of stuff because I had so many of them. I had a big collection. I said, okay. He paid me a little bit of money, and I could just tell he was reluctant. He says, "I'll pay you the rest when I get my next check or when this and that." So, like an idiot, I was naive. I actually borrowed it to him, gave it to him, even though he paid me some money already at first. So I'll pay you $180 more for the rest of it. He moved someplace far away. So when I took the bus to go get there, he says, "Don't come today, come some other day." I'm already halfway here, dude. Come on. Well, just come by next week. Next week comes by. Same bullshit, same excuse. I said, "What the fuck, dude?" And then he says, "Shut up, just come by next week." Only to find out from somebody that he sold all of my kung fu weapons. That's why he didn't want me to come by. He fucking sold it so he can go buy drugs and pay rent and do whatever, buy beer and stuff like that, because he was hurting for money. Get your ass a fucking job then. That was the last straw for me. I said, fuck you. And there's other people that are just as bad as him. And again, not to sound racist against blacks, but blacks are a little bit worse. I don't know how much worse. But there was a lot of them that were that way as well. Sorry, I just had to get this off my chest. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Questions or comments, you know what to do. And this is Dare to Speak. And to all of you, take care.